What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, loan officers, real estate agents, title companies, appraisers alike? Welcome to the Monday market update. Also, possibly my mom. She watches these sometimes. So, hi, mom. Welcome to the Monday market update. I hope everybody has had a fantastic weekend. We are excited for you to join us on this chilly Monday here in Atlanta, where I'm coming to you live from. I am Sean Grapevine. I am one of our sales leaders here at UMortgage, and I'm repping my Agent Direct shirt today, where that's where my heart will always be. And speaking of hearts, I am joined today by a man with a big one. Today we're going to hear the gospel according to Jon Mark. He's from the ridiculously, absurdly named, just incredibly confusingly named Kansas City, Missouri. He's a graduate of Calvary University, but he leads the capital markets cavalry. He can fill in as our therapist because he studied psychology while in school. You can find his photos hugging coffee shops or at johnmark.co. That is johnmark.co. And pitch in, help him, buy a couple prints because they're amazing in and of themselves, and then allow him to buy himself some Christmas presents this year. He says 50% off any orders of 10 prints or more is what I heard.
Yeah, totally. Let's do it.
So welcome to the show, Jon Mark. How are you?
Yeah, I'm well. And yourself?
Oh, thanks for asking. I'm great. I had a good, relaxing weekend. I cooked a lot. Watched the Falcons lose a game to the Carolina Panthers. I watched some cyclocross, which is a type of professional cycling that is somewhere mixed between road cycling and like mountain biking. And that's it. And went to church. What did you do this weekend, Jon Mark?
There we go.
Did you go by Jon Mark? I don't know why I keep calling you Jon Mark.
Listen. I'm going to be honest with you and everyone. Professionally, I've always gone by John. Personally, I've always gone by Jon Mark or JM. But since you've been giving me the intro as the gospel according to Jon Mark, I wanted to go ahead and put in the full Jon Mark. So
I saw that it's changed today. All right, we're going to
go
Jon Mark. I think it's got a nice ring to it.
It is. So us, we just had a quiet weekend. I've got a 3.5-year-old that is going on 30. So we just did some Christmas stuff and relaxed. And as you watched the Falcons, I watched the Chiefs. And so it was just, we're just gearing up for the holidays. It was nice.
How did Taylor's boyfriend do? Did his team win?
We won. We played the Patriots. I mean, it was it was ugly, but we won. So
nice.
It was great. Yeah, it was good. It was good.
Yeah. Well, good to hear it. So in other winning news from last week, we've got kind of a lot to go over. The market was optimistic in general headed into Wednesday, and a lot of you guys have seen my broadcast with Rob Piglo addressing the sort of recapping the Fed decision, but we've got a little more context now, and we're gonna go full week review. So had a 10-year note auction that people were worried about, didn't end up causing a splash. Tuesday we had core CPI come in a little high, couldn't staunch the market's optimism for the upcoming Fed meeting, and then we had the Fed meeting, and all hell broke loose.
It did. And, offline, I told you had an analogy to kind of talk about the last week.
Okay. You're ready.
It's seasonal. Right? I'm launching in this. At the core, I like to teach. I like to make things relatable. So we can talk data. We can get into the weeds. But ultimately, the market have been having its opening scene from Christmas vacation with the Fed as Clark Griswold driving that station wagon, investors as Mrs. Griswold, and consumers in the backseat just holding on for dear life as they swerve under the inflation semi-truck. And we were there. We were waiting. We were holding on. The investors were praying. The Fed is saying, hey, we're going to get through this. We're going to make it. And last week was that pivotal moment of swerving out underneath, missing the snowplow, and launching into the air. And here we come for a soft landing into the snow, right in the parking lot of normal economic data.
Wow. That is
Interesting.
that is an analogy. You are right about that, and a good one at that. Yeah, I just want everybody to. I want somebody to go back into our archivist here at the Monday Market Update. And they're our full-time archivists who pay hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. I want them to go back into the archives, as is their job here, and find the first time that I called the soft landing. I've been calling it since at least Feb of this year, and I think I think it remains to be seen what the effect of these rate hikes is on the GDP in Q1 and Q2 to see like if the GDP landing is soft. But I think even if we experience some lightly negative numbers there, it doesn't look like the job market is in any like to the average American, right? Like things are not going to be getting as expensive as quickly as they were. Wages might not be going up as much, but it looks like the job market's going to remain pretty healthy. And this is looking like it could be a bit of a soft landing.
I wholeheartedly agree. And to kind of build on my Christmas vacation favorite Christmas movie of all time is we might be in the parking lot of the Christmas tree farm of a return to normalcy of that soft landing. But the truth is we still have to trudge a little bit to find that magical number. We still have a little bit of work ahead of us. And I think you're starting to see that in the markets. On the capital markets team, we always joked that for a while the rate hikes were the Price is Right game of the yodelers. It's like, how high can they go? Mm-hmm. And this rally is a little bit of the same way. It's like, hey, we're kind of reaching that top. And Robin, you mentioned last week that liquidity is drying up a little bit. It's the holiday season, and there is a disparity. I cannot talk this morning. Disparity. There we go. Between what the Fed is signaling in terms of how much they're going to cut rates next year and what investors think. Mm-hmm. And so because of that, I think we there's some trepidation, not necessarily bad, but just saying, okay, how much are we going to cut rates? So we're still kind of moving in that direction, but we don't know how much.
That's the one thing I've always been curious about is I think they're going to be much less willing. I mean, mm-hmm. I've been saying for months, much less willing to cut rates when, that's the only tool that they have. And they want to save that tool for when things get bad, not when things mm-hmm. get tight. They want to save it for when things get bad. So I just don't see like, some slowing GDP numbers, 0.2% contraction in GDP, a reason for the Fed to be like, we're going to cut rates by 50 bips. I mean, to me, it's like, unemployment's at 5%, like the GDP's down 2.5. You know what I mean? Like, it's like they're going to wait until there's an emergency, because we saw in the last emergencies that cutting rates doesn't really help that much when it gets real bad.
Right. And the markets have essentially priced in those cuts already. I mean, and they're saying, hey, we're here. This is good. Let's just hold steady for a while and only use that as a break glass in case of emergency. So I agree with you. I mean, it would be great to get that 150 bip cut, but let's just maybe go with 75 to be safe.
Sure. I agree. I wonder, some of the movement wasn't just. I mean, like part of it was pricing in future cuts, but also cutting some of the caution that like it just seems like it had just been selling to out of pure caution. Now people are kind of it looks like even the spread between MBS and 10-year has shortened a little bit, or between like the going interest rate on a mortgage loan and the 10 years is decreased a little bit as people have gotten just a little bit less cautious. So anyway, so that was last week. We had the Fed interest rate decision. Never has such a like nothing burger turned into such a something burger. I mean, that literally the body said the Fed just knocked over a coffee cup. Said, hey, we're not changing anything. And everybody's like, well, I heard we're changing everything. So always interesting when they elect to keep rates the same and it creates a big change. Jobless came in lower than expected. Fewer jobless claims, so better job market. Unemployment rate reduced from 3.9 to 3.7%. Maybe that was the prior week. The jobs market is staying strong. Retail sales were up. None of this could put a damper on this rally, though. Industrial production up, pretty much. Core producer prices down a little bit, but overall, a picture of a very healthy economy for everybody to be so excited about interest rate cuts this week. What do we have this week? Looks like we got housing starts tomorrow, which is exciting. We've got existing home sales Wednesday, so a lot of home stuff. We had the housing market index today, which showed that home builders were a little bit more optimistic than they have been, I guess, because of lowering interest rates. How much of these statistics are reactive, and how much of them will the market react to?
I honestly don't know. I mean, I think right now, we looked at last week, and last week again, it was that launch off the snowbank. It was unexpected. And so now we're looking at the home builders came out today. They're a little bit more confident. Tomorrow you've got starts and permits for home builders. It's basically Bob the Builder week, the first half of the week. And I think there is a more cautious optimism behind these numbers. So I would, to answer your question, it's going to be more reactive, if you will.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And we've got, what else do we have? Not much. Jobless claims again on Thursday. And then core PCE.
I'm just over here waiting for you to get to that PCE on Friday.
Tell me about it.
Well, if CPI is the appetizer, PCE is the main course. PCE is really going to hopefully continue the story of a recovering economy, of things returning to normalcy. So nothing like a nice little data dump on Friday morning before Christmas. So hopefully we get a good Christmas present.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I've seen some people say it'll come in super low. The average forecast, according to whatever MBS Live uses, shows core PCE coming in at 3.3 year over year and month over month at 0.2. So I mean, those are great numbers. And if PCE truly is the preferred metric of the Fed, now the Fed says that the PCE is the preferred metric of the Fed, but traders seem to disagree. They trade off of CPI, it seems like. I mean, PCE never has a big effect on the market, and CPI always does. Is that just because CPI comes out earlier in the month?
I think so, but I also think CPI is that consumer transaction, whereas PCE is the market transactions. It's what are the businesses paying. So it's kind of like they both work, but for some reason, the market's just like CPI a little bit more, because it's like, what are you and I paying? What are the streets saying, rather than what's the official dare I say academia numbers. So I think that's the disconnect. Left brain, right brain, if you will.
That makes sense. Yeah. I know it should be interesting going into the 22nd. I mean, is there any, next week, Christmas week, and then we've got the New Year's. That's typically pretty. What do we see? Melts up, melts down, or just kind of?
Yeah, we hopefully traditionally it's pretty quiet, because again, I love the way Rob has always said it. Liquidity is pretty slow right now. There's a lot of people are starting to close down shop a little bit more for the year. 2 weeks ago, I made the comment, a December to remember. And, was there going to be a Santa rally, or are we going to start to see some tax loss harvesting? But the truth is, we've had 7 weeks of growth. I think the S&P is up, 23% on the year. I mean, that's wild. So it's like, even if there is a little bit of a dip, you still have to take that in context of the whole year. So to answer your question, over the next 2 weeks, I would anticipate a pretty slow market as everyone shifts down and starts to relax a little bit.
Yeah. I think everybody's kind of waiting on some more numbers over the next 3 to 6 weeks, and then the next Fed meeting to really see what the update to. I would assume, and I'm always wrong. So everybody just keep that in mind. 100% of the time I'm wrong. I would assume that we hang out in this 3.9 to 4% range on the 10-year. For a little while until we get a little bit more clarity, right? I think markets are optimistic, but they're not going to. I don't see this rallying the 10-year into 3.5 off of no news, unless PCE comes in at some insane number, or we get crazy jobless claims, this week or early next week or early next year.
Yeah, I would also say to build on that, I agree wholeheartedly in terms of like the 10 years staying where it's at, because if it comes down even more, that's going to tempt the investors to move back into the markets and be a little bit, take some of those higher risks. And I just think everyone, as optimistic as last week was, everyone's saying, hey, we're not there to where we can start taking those risks in the market again. And, those big gains that we've had may not be there just yet. So that's that tightrope we're walking.
All right. Well, let's put it all on the table. I'll put it all on the line here. What is at close of market, 3 p.m. on Friday the 29th, or whenever the bond market closes, what is the 10-year going to be at?
All right. So it's sitting at 3.967 today. I'm calling it at 3.832.
Wow. Optimistic.
There we go.
4.042.
All right. There we go. Price is Right style. We're going to yodel. Who's going over the cliff?
Wow. That was so many metaphors.
It's what I do.
I love it. I've got competition here. Well, before we hop off, any news on the product, process, or partner front before we leave?
I want to be able to give you Christmas gifts today, but I'm going to say let's hold off until we get some stuff ratified.
Okay, it's very capital markets. You guys never blink. It's always you always roll it out once it's ready to be rolled out, and I applaud you for that. I'm annoyed by it, but I applaud you.
I do what I can.
There you go. Well, I appreciate it. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week. I hope you lock 1,000 loans. And guys, make sure you are attending the daily sales huddles and watching Fridays. Jimmy Hobson talked about VA Earls. And then today we're going to have Chad Catani and Ian Twaddle on about FHA streamlines. You got to watch it. They are on the table. They're in the money. They are low-hanging fruit, however you want to put it. There are some in your closed pipeline in all likelihood. And John Mark here needs something to do. He needs some loans to lock. He needs to learn some new processes here about these refis. He's ready for a lesson in refi boom. So let's teach it to him. And I hope everybody has a fantastic week. Thanks so much, John Mark. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you, Sean. Take care.